Hi, I'm Dan Bennett. I'm joined by West London Sports Ian McCullough and former QPR striker Kevin Gallen. We're going to run you through the Fulham game on Saturday and give our predictions for what we think might happen. Ian, obviously you cover both teams for West London Sport. It was a fairly comfortable win. Well, it was a comfortable win for Fulham when the two sides met earlier in the season. Obviously winning that game fairly easily. Do you expect to see a similar game this time around, or do you think it will be a little bit tighter than perhaps what we saw earlier in the season?
It's a weird game, the last one, because Fulham were the better side. 4-1 did flatter them, but at the same time, they deserved to win sort of comfortably, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 1-1 with, I think, about sort of 10, 12 minutes to go, and then they scored 3 sort of like goals to kind of add some gloss to the scoreline, so to speak. But they were good that day, Fulham. They were very... they started really strong from memory. They kind of come out the blocks, moved the ball, and Rangers couldn't really get out of their own half. I've seen them kind of numerous times this season, and they are comfortably the best team in the division. But they can be got at. I mean, defensively they are, I think, a bit vulnerable. But where they are good is just they got so much pace. The likes of Robinson and Cabano really, tore Rangers to bits in that last game. And then you've got Carvalho, who's an outstanding talent, and Harry Wilson, who at this level's, a top player. And then the same for Mitrovic, who, when he plays in the Premier League, he looks half the player he is in the Championship. So they're going to be very, very dangerous. And it's going to be a very hard game for Rangers. But,
yeah. No, I mean, they're just so hard to stop, aren't they? Like you mentioned there, with Wilson and Carvalho in behind a prolific striker, Mitrovic.
Yeah, I mean, that game at Craven Cottage, they got completely overrun in midfield. It was Don Ball and Johansson who started, and Don Ball, against games. I mean, he's the sort of player that you need against someone like Peterborough in the side, but against a team like Fulham, it really wasn't his game. He was getting turned and players running off his shoulder. So they need to kind of win that midfield battle. So it'd be interesting to see if he does change the formation perhaps and go to a 4-man midfield, 4 at the back. I don't know, but they really need to kind of early get win the midfield battle, and if they're gonna have any chance of winning, they've got to get the crowd on side, and if they start slowly, they'll get beaten. But if they can hang in there and lay a few punches on them, going forward, then they could get something out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, from QPR's perspective, obviously a bit of positive injury news midweek. Lyndon Dykes returned for Scotland, played almost half an hour, obviously missed the last 7 games for QPR with a hamstring injury. So hopefully he comes back into the mix. We're waiting to see. Obviously, we don't know yet because we haven't had the kind of injury updates, but Stefan Johansson and Lee Wallace missed out last time. So we'll have to see if they're back fit. Obviously, Chris Willock, we know is out for the season. So that's a big blow. And it probably looks like Kieran Westwood will start in goal again, given the goalkeeper issues. What do you think? What would you like to see Mark Warburton do here in those attacking areas to kind of address the absence of Willock? What do you think he does here?
I think he'll continue with a one striker up front. I would suggest, because I think he'll, as Ian said, like the last game they dominated the midfield, and he'll be wary of that. So I think he'll try and put an extra man in midfield to try and combat that. It's very interesting. QPR got to go into this game. We've got to get something out of the game, and I think it's got to come from the players and the crowd. And there's always a sort of when I played, it was always in the changing room. Do we get the players get the crowd going, or the crowd get the players going? I think it's a little bit of both, but sometimes the crowd can be subdued. But if they see someone bang into it, like crash into a tackle, the crowd gets up, or someone does something positive and has a shot and the crowd gets behind you. So QPR we need to get the crowd right back on side. We need an electric atmosphere, and we need to make the game really tight for Fulham so they don't play their expansive way and have time on the ball. Be interesting to see when they do have the ball, do we sit off and let them come at us and then try and close them down in the middle? Or do we go and play a high press? Because a lot of teams against QPR at the moment have sort of been playing, knows that QPR want to play the ball out from the back, and they've high pressed us, and we sort of struggled a little bit with that. So it'll be interesting to see what the manager's tactics will be like, as in, are we going to high press them, or there you go, Fulham have the ball at the back, sit back and try and counter. It's going to be, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm fortunate enough to be going. I haven't been for a while, so I'm really looking forward to it. But I would say one up front, and I think Andre Gray, is that right? And you said he's just come back from Jamaica in a match. Was it last night?
Yeah, he played for Jamaica against Honduras last night. So
that's a bit. So he's either looking at Austin, or he's gonna, if he thinks Dykes is fit to start, and maybe say, Lyndon, give us 70 minutes, just like as a battering ram, close down, win your headers, and maybe hopefully soften them up. The defenders up, and if we're in the game at 0-0 with 20 minutes to go, there ain't anyone better really in the box than Charlie Austin to come on and sub. So be interesting to see what sort of what the manager will do, and we will only find out an hour before the game, or probably at 3:00 when the game kicks off. But yeah, it's a good game. It's a game I think we need to get something out of, just to get sort of a bit of positivity around the whole place, because unfortunately there is a bit of negativity because of recent performances and recent results. And we talked about this last week. We're only 2 points off. Is it 2 points off 6?
2 points. Yeah,
to play for. So you get a point, you pick up a point, or you don't lose against Fulham. That's a really good result because of the way they're playing, and then you go into the next game with confidence.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Fulham are a fantastic team, best team in the division easily. But I mean, from what I've seen of them this year, there are, you can get at them. They obviously play out from the back a lot, and sometimes they do misplaced passes, and you can kind of seize on those, and that's kind of where they've been vulnerable. So perhaps pressing them up high might be the way, obviously. But the trouble is you tire yourself out and they keep the ball off you, and then that's another problem, isn't it? But you mentioned,
and you press them up high, and then you leave space in behind it. It's a difficult one.
Yeah.
It's one, me personally, I would like to see QPR really come out of the traps really quick, high tempo game. Luke Amos in midfield, maybe the extra man because he's got the legs, with Field and probably Johansson. You've got to go and close them down and put them under pressure, and don't make it easy for them.
Yeah, I think it's definitely
got to get right in their faces and put it right on top of them and have a go. And then it's Fulham. We're not playing Liverpool or Man City. It's Fulham. What I mean?
Because I mean, again, like that was the last 2 games they played. They lost to West Brom and they lost to Barnsley, and both teams really went at them in the first half. I think they got a late equaliser at Barnsley. So, but I mean, that was Rangers' problem at Fulham. They just sat back off them and let them have the ball, and they absolutely just kind of, pass them off the park in the first half, and they were probably lucky to be only 1-0 down.
The thing that I'm saying is, you go right at them right at the start, you close them down, you get right in their faces, you might nick a goal. That's a great scenario. Then you've got something to hang on to and you can fight for, and the crowd behind you, and everyone's going for it. That's me personally. That was, if I was the manager, that's what I would be trying to do. High tempo, high start, go right at them. If you sit back and lose, then everyone's thinking, well, we didn't have a go there. If you go right at them and have a right go, then people sort of hand out. If Fulham beat you in the end, you go, well, hold on, we had a right go there.
Yeah, you mentioned Amos there. I think it's definitely a game for him with what he offers to the side, driving on from midfield. He's very good at obviously pressing from midfield. He goes and closes down the attackers. It almost plays as like a more advanced midfielder. So I think it's definitely a game for him. It's I think I would have said it was a game for Andre Gray as well, just because of sometimes you can catch Fulham out on the break, and he's obviously quite good at running in behind. But like you said, Ian, I think given how recently he's played and when he's done that earlier in the season, he's obviously come back and been named on the bench, hasn't he? It's quite hard for him to start after doing that. So maybe we won't see him start. But I mean, Kev, do you think if Dykes is fit enough? And obviously it's tricky because he played half an hour for Scotland, and he wasn't, he was kind of you could see he was working his way back, and I think it'd be a lot to ask for him to start. But if that's an option, would you like to see him come straight back in? And in terms of defence as well, obviously I think we spoke last week about Sanderson coming in for Barbe, and is that a change you'd like to see reversed as well? Maybe Barbe come back in for Sanderson.
Yeah, no. Regarding the Barbe, I think the back four should go originally back to what we were good at in the months before we had this shaky a shaky bit of form. Barbe, done. Dickey. Lyndon Dykes, look, he's fit. If you're fit for the bench, then you're fit, aren't you? Unless, I don't know, the medical, but, you know, if you say to Lyndon Dykes, come on, Lyndon, I need 60 minutes of you. Give me 60 minutes. Go full pelt for 60 minutes, and then we've got Charlie Austin and Andre Gray on them as backup.
As a player, when you've come back from injury and you're like that, what do players prefer? Do they prefer to kind of start the game or come on? What would be the player's mindset?
But this is a big game. It's local derby. It's a sellout. I'm sure Lyndon Dykes wants to. If he's fit, so he's obviously fit because he played for Scotland. You ain't going to play an unfit player in an international. He's obviously been training for 2 weeks. Obviously, it has to be like full pelt training. Was it a hamstring injury?
Yeah.
It was a hamstring injury. It's always in the back of your mind. But Lyndon Dykes must be thinking, if the manager says to him, "Do you want to start?" He'll be saying, "Yeah." If I was Lyndon Dykes, I'd be thinking, "Yeah," and I'll go hell for leather and last as long as I can. I think Lyndon Dykes is a fit lad anyway. I think he's got good fitness levels, as in he can play 90 minutes. He's not sort of, you know, an unfit. He's not old, as in getting on in his 30s or late mid-30s. He's a fit lad. I think he's capable of playing and capable of starting. And it's just a case of whether that's what the manager wants. And with Andre Gray, let's be fair, he's been on good form and he's scored a few goals. He's been our striker for the last 3 or 4 weeks where he scored, and he's on good form. It's unfortunate. He might be thinking, he might come back and think, I want to start and I feel fine. Well, he's got options. The manager's got options. It's just which one he's going to go with.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the last time out for QPR was that awful defeat to Peterborough, which we spoke about last week. Ian, do you think would you like to see Mark Warburton kind of try and shake things up a little bit, or do you feel like that's probably too much of a risk given the opponents that they're facing on Saturday?
Well, when you say shake it up, I mean, it sort of the players he's got, it's not going to be a major shake up, is it? It might be, you know, you imagine Barbe probably will come back in, and then he's, you know, what he does in midfield. You think Johansson will definitely come in. I don't think you'll see anything major. It will just be, I think what he's got to do, and I'm sure he will. I mean, you know, he's the manager. He can't worry about the game on Tuesday against Sheffield United. You just got to put your best team and win this game, because if you start looking ahead to games on Tuesday, you know, your season could be over almost. So you just have to put everything into this game. And
I think we need a positive result.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then you go into Sheffield United with positive. I mean, I'm just in my head now thinking the goalkeeper, right side centre half, Dickey, Dunn, Barbe, Wallace, Field, Amos, Johansson, Moses on the right, Chair. If he's fit, Dykes. All great. I can't make it. Depends how they're feeling. That would be
back on a Saturday, 2:00 to see how we do it, right.
But that leaves you on a good bench as well. You've got a bit of pace there, and McCullum.
You've got McCallum.
You've got come on. You've got
Albert come on in the second half, kicking down to Loft. Hopefully, second half. So then you've got strikers on the bench as well. It's a good team, and you've got to really go for it.
All right, we'll move on to what.
Like I said, they're not world beaters.
We'll move on to our predictions. Then I'll start with you, Kev. What do you think the score's going to be for this one?
They're not world beaters. 4-0 Fulham. I'm going to go 1-1. I think that would be a positive result, considering our recent form. We've had 2 weeks off. Everyone should be fresh. I think it'll be a good game. If QPR can play to their potential, we'll get a positive result. I'm going to go 1-1. Really looking forward to it.
Good stuff. What do you think, Ian?
I'm going to go for a draw as well, but I'm going to go for 2-2.
High scoring, yeah?
Yeah, I think I was going to go 1-1, but I can't be the same as Kev. I don't see Rangers keeping Fulham out. But as I say, Fulham, I do think you can get at them. But I mean, it's, you know, the midfield. This game will be won and lost in midfield. You know, Harrison Reed's a really good player. He's probably their key man in the middle of the park with Surrey. So if Johansson and Field and Amos can, you know, stay competitive and, you know, get on top in the middle, then, you know, I reckon Rangers are, you know, can trouble the scorers. So yeah, I'm going to go 2-2.
All right, well, I'm going to be a bit more pessimistic from QPR's perspective, but positive for Fulham's perspective. I think it'll be a tighter game than what we saw earlier in the year, but I'm still going to say Fulham will win this. I'm going to say 2-1. Maybe Fulham go ahead, QPR equalise, and then Fulham sort of get a winner towards the end. But the good news is, Kev, is that I've predicted positive results for like the last month and a half for QPR, and they've barely got any. So they'll probably go and do all right now, because my predictions have been terrible recently. So I wouldn't read too much into that one.
All of ours has been terrible recently.
That's what you get for being optimistic about your team, mate, isn't it? Yeah. All right. Well, great. Thanks for watching. Let us know what your predictions are for the game in the comments below. Leave a like on the video as well if you wouldn't mind, and please subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back with another video soon.